Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for watching us. We're taping this show all about a lot of good things happening in Swanton on Wednesday, January 16th, as a strong cold front is arriving as winter gets even more serious. Have a lot of guests today. Happy to have them join us. And again, we've got a lot of information to throw out here. We have guests from the Swanton Arts Council, Rise Vermont, and also Swanton Village Manager Reg Beliveau guesting us. On the panel, we have Mr. David Winchester from the Swanton Arts Council, Denise Smith, Rise Vermont, Betsy Fournier, Rise Vermont, Reg Beliveau, the Swanton Village Manager, and Scott Rayum, I guess the headhunter, the president of the Swanton Arts Council. Yes. Thanks a lot. Not the best day for traveling. Hopefully everybody will get home safely, but thanks for joining us. Reg, you're certainly no stranger to Northwest Access TV, but again, just trying to branch out a little bit, trying to get beyond just what's happening in governmental issues in Swanton. And again, just one of our latest series of shows, just giving viewers a chance to hear from some different groups and what's happening in Swanton. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. So this is one of the things that the trustees wanted to make sure that, it isn't just about the government in Swanton. There's a lot of great stuff that are happening. So like today, it's a pleasure to bring the Arts Council in, all the wonderful things that they've been doing, and also with Rise Vermont. So thank you for having us come in again.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. Denise, tell us about Rise. I mean, you guys get a lot of publicity. I see you in the paper all the time, but just give me an overview about Rise Vermont. Maybe not everybody out there is as familiar with it as they could or should be, including myself.
Yeah, so a few years ago, a group of community members that were concerned about the health and well-being of our community came together and created this collaborative called the Healthy Lifestyles, Healthy Living Collaborative Coalition, and from that, Rise Vermont was born. And essentially what we are is a capacity building approach that's evidence-based, that is focused on improving the well-being of people. And what we firmly believe at our core is that the environments that we live in shape the outcomes of our health. And so our job, our role in all of this is to help shape the environment so that it leads to healthier outcomes for our communities. We often say that we want to make sure that the healthy choice is the easy choice and the easy choice is the healthy choice. And so people should have the choice to walk to their destination, take a bike, ride a bike, or get in their car and drive. But there should be that choice that's offered. And so that's really how we sort of intersect in this whole world of health and well-being.
And you're program manager of Rise Vermont for Franklin and Grand Isle
counties? Yep. I'm the program manager, and I oversee basically our wellness specialists that we call them, and they are at the granular level, working at the community level. Most of our wellness specialists live in the communities where they work. And so that they have that real pulse on what the community needs are, what the community wants to work on, where the energy is, and what sort of projects they want to bring forth to improve the health and well-being of the residents in that community. Rise
Vermont is statewide, or is it national? Is it just Vermont, or worldwide, or international?
It's not. I mean, there's I say that, and I also I back up a little bit because public health is something that's been around for forever in many different forms. We are actually started in Franklin Grand Isle County. We are founded on EPODE, which is actually an international model to prevent childhood obesity. And so we use their pillars. We also use the 24 strategies that the CDC has outlined for reducing obesity and overweight in our communities. But it started in Franklin County. And now what's really exciting is this past year we hired an executive director at the statewide level. The Affordable Care Organization, which is called OneCare, has adopted Rise Vermont as their primary prevention strategy for the rest of the state. And right now we're expanding our model of community-based wellness specialists throughout the state, working with different hospitals around the state to bring this program, this effort, this movement out into the communities.
Has it gone beyond Vermont? Are we talking just Vermont? Are we talking other states too?
Yeah, not quite other states yet. There's definitely some noise about when are we going to go national. There's a lot of work that still has to be done locally first, and a lot of work that has to be done at the statewide level to establish itself.
But it started here in Franklin County.
Started right here in Franklin County.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was born out of this community collaborative that came together to do this. So it's very exciting. Yeah. Yeah.
Betsy Forney, Betsy, you're the Swanton Wellness Specialist for Rise Vermont.
Yes,
Tell
I
us
am.
about some of the stuff you're doing and what that entails.
So I am the wellness specialist, and I have the opportunity to work in Swanton community with a great group of partners. With the Arts Council, Reg, a ton of other community partners on the Swanton Enhancement Project. I'm the chair of the rec department, so that I have that connection with the rec department. But my relationship kind of with the Swanton has, I was born and raised in Swanton, so I chose to raise my family there. And so I've just kind of built a great relationship in my community. So when this Rise Vermont job came up, I was like, this is a great fit, because I've already kind of established some great relationships in this community already. And then there was Fit and Healthy Swanton that kind of started with NMC and the health department. Amy Brewer kind of led that effort. She's a public health nurse.
Yeah, nurse, public health educator at the hospital.
Very well known for her anti-smoking efforts.
Anti-smoking efforts.
Yes.
Yep.
So she kind of started this. So in 2009, there was the Fit and Healthy Path that was actually built.
Great job. I'm on it periodically.
Yeah, it's nice.
The future western terminus, of course, of the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing. And then in 2015, it was paved. So that's kind of where my work kind of started in Swanton, was with Amy and the Fit and Healthy Path. I was on the advisory committee there. And then it just kept flourishing and flourishing. So the community wanted more. They wanted to become more walkable and bikeable. Reg and I sat on the wellness committees at the schools and had a lot of great conversations about how do we get kids to walk to school? Why aren't they walking to school? What are their barriers? So we talked sidewalks, and next thing you know, we have bike lanes and sidewalks and flashing beacons in our communities to make it easier to walk and bike to school, and for our community to access our village green, our grocery stores. So between the village and the town, I think we have, what did I put on my notes here? At least 15, I'd say about 3,000 square feet of new sidewalks in our community. So,
So I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. I mean, she's telling
very modest.
She's telling the community partners and stuff, but they do the heavy lifting. I mean, when they come in and they ask us, hey, we have this idea, we'd like to know what you think. It's harder for us to say no than it is, because I'm going to have to make an excuse why I don't want to do this. It's easier to say yes because they do all the heavy lifting. So for the example she was talking about with the sidewalks, we got 10 miles of sidewalks within the village. Really? So every 16 years they come through and they do a repaving project. So when Betsy was part of the Safe Routes to School program that we were on that committee, the conversation came up, how can we improve the access to the school? Sidewalks. We added 2 new crosswalks on First Street, which only had 1 on either end. We added flashing beacons through a grant through Amy helped, along with Elizabeth, and it was that group, helped us attain 3 flashing crosswalks, and helped us and gave us the idea, planted the seed for the bike lanes. So those are part of the initiatives that they helped us with, and all it is just, like I said, they did the heavy lifting. All we had to do is just make sure things happened.
Well, we're on that subject, Reg. We talk about it on the Swanton Trustees show. Again, possibility down the road of the sidewalk from MVU to the village limits. I know that issue's getting some attention.
I can tell you, I know Elizabeth's still on it with Betsy. There's regional planning is still on that process as well. So yeah, we haven't given up on it. I mean, the initial price tag I think was crazy, and I think we can do it for less than that, but we haven't given up on it.
I guess we've talked about it on the other shows. Boy, why that didn't happen initially with the construction of MVU in retrospect seems very surprising, but that was a while ago. It's almost, what, 50 years ago, in fact. Didn't happen, but good luck with that project. Hopefully that'll get some attention. Swanton Arts Council, I've got all kinds of information in front of me here. Scott, why don't you get us going on the, sounds like a pretty active group.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a lot of activities going on. Like Swanton Arts Spectacular is going to be happening. This is the 3rd annual one, be in September. We've got a lot of different classes that are getting set up, like art classes, different people heading up different projects.
How long has the Swanton Arts Council been around?
We're,
you know,
3 years now, right? 4?
I think we're
The community visit was what, 2016?
So that stemmed from, that's a good point to bring up, this stemmed from the community visit. Is that what kind of got the Arts Council going?
I think when we started, David, you can pipe in, but when we started the initial community visit, part of it, the Arts Council were already establishing themselves. And actually, I think it wasn't part of what everybody had came out with, but the Arts Council was already growing back then, and they were like an unstoppable force. That it was like, boy, this is fantastic. Let's keep them going.
Well, I think
what can we do to help?
Yeah, there were a lot of local unstoppable forces, and I think bringing everybody together that Molly and Hank did with their program.
Speaking of the Lamberts, they were
Lamberts.
key people, obviously.
And so they, was it 3 or 4? There were 4 legs of that initiative that really started to grow, and then the Arts Council, you know, joined in and then evolved, and everybody else has been doing the same thing in their groups. Yeah.
The economic development piece came out of that as well. Was part of that community visit originally as well.
Yeah.
I know there are some task forces ongoing, grew out of the community visit. Is Swanton Arts Council hooked up to that, or is that just a separate entity at this point?
You guys they still do a lot of, well, for example, we had the car show. You guys are involved in the car show. We do the Halloween in the park. They're involved in that. The Christmas in the park. They're involved in that. You do a lot of winter events in the park. The snowball. I can think of the snow globe thing that you guys did one year. The colored snowballs.
Speaking of which, how's the ice skating?
Oh yeah, the ice skating
I
rink.
haven't been there myself. Is that getting some attention?
There's ice.
That is probably one of the best things that has brought our community more of a community. It was just one conversation that led into me going to village trustees, to the select board, and then my amazing group of village people. And the amazing Linda Cross, my rec director, just taking it and moving with it and creating such a great community asset.
That's been getting a fair amount of attention. I'd like to think I'll get up there one of these days myself. Haven't made it yet.
We have a skating party this weekend.
Really?
On Saturday from 3 to 5, sponsored by People's Trust and the rec department. Abishon's Hardware has given us some donations. Swanton Lumber gave us all the lumber. Donated all for that, for the skating rink.
To build the skating rink, that's awesome. And the fire department.
And the fire department has been helping us fill it, and I think they're flooding it again tomorrow to get it all ready to go. And
I've seen a lot of people out there. Every time I drive by, there's somebody in the middle of that rink.
Yeah, every time I drive by, somebody's on it.
Yeah, I know. That's what
They strategically put it in a nice location in the park that's lit, so when the sun goes down, you can still skate and enjoy it.
Well, and one of the reasons why I put it in the village green was because people can walk there. It's easy access to it. And maybe they would stop into our local libraries and to our local restaurants and walk into our local convenience stores, buy some cocoa, like try to boost the economic development in the community and also utilize our great downtown community spaces.
Yeah. Scott, before Swanton Arts Council became an official entity or whatever, was there some kind of stuff going on, arts-related things, just maybe not real coordinated, or are you a long-time Swantonian yourself?
Yeah, I grew up there, been there all my life.
Yeah.
I honestly don't recall too much myself.
No.
And since we've started, I mean, it's incredible how many talented people, how many talented individuals in our area.
Yeah.
And we start having events and these people that I've known all my life, and to find out, like even me and Dave, we started talking, like I didn't know he painted and he didn't know I did some artistic things, and then to see each other's talents, it's amazing.
Yeah, like my business, I do business with Scott's business all the time.
Yeah.
And for years, I had no idea how talented he was until the Arts Council pretty much pulled all the artistic people in the community together, because everybody was just doing their own little thing. And nobody really knew that there were so many people that were so creative and talented in the area. That's a good question. It's
over
that is a good
It's
question.
over 200 now, right?
Really, with Swanton Arts Council?
Yeah,
Really,
members,
that's impressive.
Yeah. And it grows all the time. And every time we have a monthly meeting, there's always somebody new that shows up. And this last one, it was really crowded.
Where do you meet?
Oh, well, the last couple of times we've been meeting at the House Pizza in Swanton.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been moving around from place to place to place and trying different locations. And we try to support the businesses in the community by going to different locations. But, you know, putting the legitimate Arts Council together and getting all the members that we have now, it's fascinating about how well integrated it is, because everybody's a member of something or connected to another part of the village or another program in the village. So like Roger was talking about earlier, how integrated everything really is. So no one entity really is necessarily pushing forward by themselves. It's everybody's working together. And that's really the fantastic part of the whole thing that came out of the meeting from Swanton a long time ago, is it just brought everybody together and everybody's working on different aspects of that meeting and trying to do their best to support. And so from the Arts Council, the economic part of it, creating our Swanton Art Spectacular, bringing back a part of the old festival that used to be there. We can never bring back the festival as it used to be.
It's in the late great Swanton Summer Festival you're talking about.
Exactly.
Who could forget that?
Who could forget that?
But the car show's been great. The car show sounds like it's really gone over well in the last few summers.
It's amazing. They can't even fit any more cars in the park, right?
Yeah.
And now you've got the Swanton Art Spectacular, a month or two later, so you got some good summer stuff going on these days.
And it was probably twice as big this year as it was the year before.
Yeah.
And I think
the Art Spectacular?
Growing exponentially each year. So
Darcy Benoit doing a great job. Her parents are good friends of mine.
Doing
but have some
amazing job. Yeah.
Good person there for sure.
Yep.
This year, Scott Martell is going to be helping her out to do the music aspect of it, to get some musical artists in there. Should be a great event this year.
Do other communities, of course, downtown St. Albans has the Artists in Residence nice place on South Main Street. Do other towns around here have arts councils, or have you got plenty of company, or do you get together with any of your neighboring towns?
Has an arts council as
well. They do, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I know it's fractured a few times, but I think it's going strong right now.
Well,
right?
I think actually Zach does the Swanton Arts or the St. Albans Arts Council listing. It's basically a listing right now.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of promotion. I think, for me, what I feel like is different about Swanton is this thing that nobody knew each other existed. I mean, there was a little bit of it, but now like that you've created this, it's like this emergence of creative energy in Swanton that's like kind of like been, ripped wide open, and like and people are just like coming out of the woodwork.
Everybody kind of knew each other,
right?
But nobody knew that they really had these other passions. Yeah,
that there was like
scenes,
these talents that existed, and and I think one of the neatest things for me, like as a community member, just a neat thing that Swanton did at the beginning was those big art boards that they put around town, and
of course the art at the village
visual outdoor
complex,
art,
nice art there.
The art shows, the youth shows for the arts to support all the local kids that can enter in, and there's a scholarship that goes along with that event as well, and an emerging artist scholarship that has come together in support with that annual art show.
Is there summer stuff for school kids? Is there any summer kind of arts programs as such going on? Or
we've been doing art shows and art camp, haven't we?
Camp?
Like there were like paint gatherings and art wasn't Nicole doing a few of
I
those?
was doing
and
something, but I'm
Joanne
not
and-
sure if that was with the school or with the church.
The Arts Council and like the other community partners, the library, the rec center, the Notch program, we all really work together to make sure that our community has some pretty robust summer programming, along with the after-school program. So it's a huge collaboration. We had last year we had 7 weeks of summer camp. This year we're hoping to add for the whole summer, so that
These free
kids.
camps?
Some are free, some are very low cost.
And again, this is through Swanton Rec Department?
Well,
area?
it's kind of a whole community collaboration. It's not one. There's no one in Swanton. We are a whole.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We want to be a whole.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's the programs and a different type of integration and crossover and supporting one another, like the summer camp program. And wouldn't it be great to have some artistic things to offer the kids? And they approach the Arts Council, and people will put together some great ideas to. And the art walls have been very popular. Scott was really huge in championing or putting those together and meeting with the planning commissions and getting permission to locate them in strategic locations within the community, and they're extremely popular. Everybody paints on them as long as it's warm enough.
So winter, I guess winter time comes, and some of the activity not going on as in summer, but it sounds like still a fair amount of stuff going on.
Yeah. As soon as somebody paints something, and somebody's putting it on Facebook, and everybody's sharing it around, and everybody's going to look at it.
We've had the schools ask too that they've come up and they said, who do I get in contact to get a wall up here, because we want one near our place. So you have one at MVU, you got one at the Central School.
Yeah.
And I remember when Scott came in and started asking about it, and it was like, wow, this is a cool idea. Yeah, so Scott was the initial person to get those kicked off.
Scott, is art getting more attention in the schools these days? Or I mean, I guess there have been art teachers, hopefully, forever kind of, but is art getting more attention, do you think?
I don't get up to the schools much.
Yeah.
I know the few events that I've been up at MVU, the walls seem plastered with art.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I remember I was in the art programs, and I do remember some art being put up, but I don't know to the extent that I've seen it lately.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a good. Like I said, I don't make it to the schools too often.
Yeah.
The elementary school has a new art teacher. Well, she's not really new, she's a couple years. So there's a lot of beautiful murals all over the Swanton school now. And then we have a great musical that happens every year at MVU, so that's part of the arts. We have a great band program, choir. I mean, so there's a lot going on in the schools around arts and music.
Do you get the sense kids are more into, have you got any sense of that? Do you think kids are more into art or more aware of its importance? Have you got a feel for that, Betsy?
I think it's a great way to express yourselves. We use art and a lot in our mindfulness tools in the schools, so it's a very calming way to get the kids to come back and just refocus. So I think it's a great tool. And we've used it a lot in our mindful work, and I think it's needed. And
the other thing I see a lot of is that the Swan Writers Group, which also is part of the Arts Council, if I'm not mistaken. And
All right. Also part of the Arts Council.
It is, and I think a lot of people when you speak or mention art, they're thinking about just painting or doing something like that. And there's a writers group, and that's not just. And music writers, I believe, too, as well, is integrated into that.
They meet monthly, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a monthly group that gets together in the library.
And they're also crossing over into the media art. The kids are making short movies. And the big thing that we've been working with is the Northwest Nightmares.
In fact, I finally saw that. I'm a tiny part of the picture out here. I finally saw some great stuff.
So the Arts Council has put an entry in for the last 3 years based on a killer swan scenario.
I have no idea. Some of the local movie stars around here, like Representative Savage, for example, I had no clue.
And
His other life.
His other life.
yeah, our movies may not be the scariest of the entries of the bunch, but the participation is huge. You know, if we were to check off the points for how many people we get of the community to get into one of the movies, it's fantastic.
And I know, plug to our guy Zach out there doing all the hard work for the show. Yeah, Zach much involved in that, doing a great job. But yeah, I was glad to see that this year. I finally caught up with that. Sounds like a lot of tentacles, so to speak, to the Arts Council. You got a lot of things you hook into.
And so we probably should look at some of these upcoming events, and we'll mention those maybe a little bit.
Yeah, we got time.
And we've got time. Should want to go over them kind of now.
Jump in. Tell us what we can look forward to.
Well, the big upcoming event, of course, is Swanton Art Spectacular, and that'll be in September of this year, and that'll be our 3rd annual. And Darcy Benoit and Scott Martell are overseeing that part of it. Scott's managing the music and entertainment, and Darcy's doing all the vendors and everything else that are coming involved. And
anything new will be more of the same. And again, great show. I caught some of it last year.
Bigger, better than it was last year.
Yeah, bigger and better.
Yeah, bigger and better. And that was connected to, once again, with Swanton, chicken barbecue and different events with the chamber and the fire department.
Fireworks again also.
Everybody comes together in the community and has a good time in the park.
Good.
Obviously, we just mentioned that Becky Rupp and her writers group at the Swanton Public Library were integrated into the public library.
Becky's still a Swanton Library trustee.
I believe so.
Yeah, certainly been very, very active since she was first elected.
Yep. Craft classes, and this is a crossover between economic part of it. So Heather Bukowski leads that together, and we've been holding those at Holy Trinity Church in their main parish hall. And there's been one in the spring and one in the fall, I believe, so far. There might be 3 this year. I'm not quite sure about that. But that brings a lot of the local craftspeople, and it's specifically people who make things to sell and bring them into the community. So, and there's a lot of advertising going around, and a lot of pass-through traffic through the village. It keeps people to stop and come and see what's going on. Painting classes, I guess, as well at the Legion is on the list here of things coming up, led by Janet Savoy.
Sauve, is that what's in front of me here? I don't know.
Sorry, Janet, if I pronounced that the wrong way.
Never. So that's a good midwinter event.
Darcy Benoit, once again, from the Swanton Art Spectacular Initiative, has a little business called Bees on Broadway, and she's leading a kids soap making class, which should be kind of fun, I guess, on 1st Street.
Yes, I'm aware of her bees interest. Better person than me. Boy, good for her.
Yeah, I met Darcy and her husband, BJ, on a restoration thing I did to the library for the columns. We had 2 columns that were completely filled with bees.
I recall
and
that.
A big component of the whole thing is we needed to rescue the bees and not harm the bees. And they
were rescued?
Relocated the bees.
Are they
it was amazing.
Bees now? Those are the bees that they have?
No,
okay.
Well, maybe they are after a couple of years.
Part of the colony.
Yeah,
they're part of their bee colony?
Yeah, they were relocated from the village green, put it that way.
Okay, I see.
That's impressive.
They're not terrorizing the people walking in and out of the library anymore.
Wow.
And monthly SAC Swanton Arts Council meetings and updates. This happened at the beginning of the month, roughly, is when we meet. We're starting at 5:30, and everybody is welcome.
How many folks do you typically get at one of your monthly meetings?
I can go from 12 to 20 or 30. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's like a pretty lively group.
Very lively
and
group.
You see some new faces once in a while.
It's pretty hard to get through the meeting agenda, so to speak, in a prompt manner without too many people sliding off into another conversation or expanding too long on one conversation that we're supposed to review.
So it's like what, 14 Star comes into the picture a little bit?
14 Star. So this is a great way if you're interested in meeting a lot of people from Swanton Arts Council. On February 2nd at 14 Star, led by Katie Foster, is a meet and greet. So it doesn't have a time, but I'm sure you can check that out on the Arts Council Facebook page or on their website. And Scott, you got an event coming up in March?
Tell us about that event, Scott.
It's the same kind of thing. It's just getting artists together, gathered together, kind of the same thing we're doing here, rather than talking, you know, the politics of it. It's getting artists together and being able to talk about what they're doing individual as, you know, artists, and just kind of talking shop rather than talking the business aspect of it. So in March, I plan on having one. I don't have any details for mine as far as what day, what time, or anything like that, or where it's going to be, but kind of the similar thing that we're going to do at 14th Star. It's just get people together, get people to talk. Social event.
You make cigar box guitars, don't you?
That's part of what I do as being an artist. I make cigar box guitars.
Really, cigar box guitars.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
They're on display at
Scott's kind of got the triple threat going on with the art world. You can sing, you can make the musical instruments that are artistic on their own right, and then he can really paint really fantastic.
Well, that's impressive. I can't imagine. That's
his
really
murals
impressive.
are really impressive.
Trying to walk and chew gum, that's my mission.
If you can do that, Rich, you're ahead of me.
Running a village.
Step ahead of me.
So
Want to keep going there?
Sure. Springtime, there's the 4th annual Spring Youth Art Show. And Nicole Gadwa is going to, she's been the head person on that initiative. And so that'll be March 22nd and 23rd at the Village Complex.
Village Complex.
Yep.
To put in a plug for Miss Gadwa, too. I mean, what an energetic, the energy that comes out of her is phenomenal. Yeah. Whenever she shows up, she asks for something, and it's like, yes, okay. But I mean, to work with the kids, though,
she's hard to say no to, and she's quite persuasive in getting things done.
Just organizing those kids is phenomenal too. What she does.
Yeah, and that's for kids from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Wow.
So it covers the whole spectrum.
Displays at the village.
And now she must work with the art teachers at the schools, correct?
As in the past,
yeah, it's directly connected to us. She goes to all the schools, the elementary, Franklin, you know. So
touched on videos, but beyond the nightmares, just kind of regular videos also.
Well, yeah. Well, we're supposed to kind of pitch Swanee 4, which is going to be a What the Flock, a musical. Yeah. So I think we're going to fail at being really scary again for the 4th year in a row, but it should be really entertaining.
Well, from what I understand, we have more than enough content for one, so it's actually 4 and 5.
4 and 5 connected together?
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I don't know all the details.
Judy Paxman's a key person with us.
Judy Paxman, that's her
baby.
That's her baby, without a doubt. Yeah, she's really fantastic at putting that together.
On the video end of it, we also have Tom's been doing the counseling right here at Channel 15.
Yes.
And it's aired here. I think they put on YouTube and something else.
So it's a new program. Tom Benton is also one of the Arts Council members. And
yes, I saw.
So he's going to start hosting a show and interviewing people from around the community.
The artists. Artists from SAC. Artists, I think, is who he's interviewing.
Specifically the SAC members.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Great.
And then I guess we're helping Emmett Matthew. He's got a concept for a video based on an Armageddon type
apocalyptic comedy movie. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, no. And so he pitched that a little while ago, and it sounds fantastic. So he's networked into the Arts Council for support on making his movie. And we're going to do our best to help him whatever we can.
And tell me more about the Year of the Salmon.
Oh, well, you know, I'm just reading that too, Richard. I've heard it mentioned a few times, but...
Interesting. Another Judy Paxman. Again, Judy's a key person with us.
Yeah, project lead is on the Year of Salmon. So, Scott, do you know more about that, do you?
I don't know a whole lot about it.
Okay. It says here, we are excited to announce that we are the recipient of the 2019 Champlain Valley National Heritage Partnership Local Heritage Grant. That's a long one right there, isn't it?
That's a mouthful.
To create a community-generated movie to be called The Year of the Salmon. Contact Judy Paxman, project lead, if you'd like to be involved in writing, acting, props, costumes, videography, editing, etc.
Interesting. Stay tuned on that one.
Yeah. And next, I guess we're hosting Entrepreneurs Breakfast Group.
That's a new thing.
That's a new thing.
Huh.
Okay. So
That brings to mind, I see the name J.P. Choquette, who I haven't met, but I know out with a number of books. There's some pretty impressive local writers around here. With
Yeah.
yeah. So as we were saying, we tentacles and we're connected and integrated into all kinds of.
Joy writes stories for J.P. Choquette, but she goes by Joy for us.
Yeah.
No, it's all right, Joy.
Writes stories for Rise Vermont for us.
No,
So
is
we
that
need a
right?
writer to follow up on
Interesting.
something interesting that's happened in the community.
And she's
so,
Franklin County person?
yeah.
Fairfield maybe, or around here somewhere, huh?
I don't know where she grew up, but it's I don't know.
I went to school with her, and her
No,
mom
really?
worked at our local high school. So,
Really, one of our local authors.
Highgate Springs, maybe.
yep, maybe Highgate
yeah.
Springs.
Huh.
She's an author. Great books. Very local.
Remember, Judy was mentioning maybe a year or so ago that the Swanton Arts Council was voted as one of the up and coming in the state of Vermont to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. That's great.
We've been working with the State Arts Council, and you've gone to, Scott, a few of those statewide annual gatherings
Yeah.
down in Montpelier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Scott, there's an official statewide arts council?
The Vermont Arts Council.
Vermont Arts
yeah.
Council?
Yeah, they're doing great things as far as bringing awareness, as far as what art brings to the state as a whole. And they divide it out into different areas of Vermont, different sectors. Last I knew, Nicole Gadwa was a part of our sector up here. And they're, like, we have Vermont is a big ski, we attract people from out of state with our skiing, but there was a couple years ago where skiing wasn't so bad, and ticket sales were comparable to what the art sector brought in as far as income to the state. So
Really?
the Vermont Arts Council is really spearheading an initiative to just, put that more out into the forefront and try to bring in more tourism just based on art, what Vermont has to offer as far as art goes.
You see a lot of the
Right.
big murals going on, like out in Jeffersonville or Cambridge area on those concrete and different
silos.
silos.
Right, when you come into the Rotary there and Jeff, that's some cool stuff.
Even if, like, you go through Milton on the outside of Gardner's, there's a gigantic bird and hummingbird. So I think they're trying to look at large, bland buildings as not large, bland buildings, but as blank canvases and trying to make them look prettier. And there's all kinds of grants and people getting involved.
I mean, art is a really key that brings people into a community, and it's kind of integrated in a lot of the work that I do in my communities too. Art stencil on the sidewalks, on rec paths. So it kind of brings people out and to kind of look at the murals or look at the sidewalk chalk or sidewalk stencils. So art kind of gets people out moving. So it's really part of a lot of the work that we do in our communities.
Interesting. So talking about, again, Rise Vermont, again, just wellness, healthy, just fighting obesity, especially in young people. Denise, how are you faring on that front? I mean, you just hear about obesity stories all the time. You feel you're making progress on that, or young kids, I think they're generally more aware of how important it is to keep their bodies in decent shape? Have you got a big question, but have you got a feel for, you're making progress on that front, or hard to say?
So it's a 20-year shift is what it's going to take.
Really? Wow.
We're focusing on these midterm indicators, which basically are getting people to eat more, or inviting people to eat more fruits and vegetables and increase their, change their diets. And inviting people to move more. So making sure that their leisure time is not spent in front of a screen. So those are kind of indicators that we're looking at, and those are reported out from the Vermont Department of Health. Our long-term game is the obesity rates in this county will go down. We did a measurement study in schools And on average, we did it in first, third, and fifth graders. It was an anonymous data kind of surveillance. 41% of our children are obese or overweight right now in our Franklin and Grand Isle County schools.
Really? 41%?
It's that and it's food. You know, it's like what you're. It goes back to what you're putting in your body and what you're doing with your feet. And so, you know, yeah. So the regulations. You know, I don't want to bring politics into this, but the Obama regulations around food meals at schools.
Michelle Obama certainly gave that issue a lot of attention, of course.
Yeah, and you know, is that going to be reversed? And so we focus a lot on wellness policies in schools to make sure that the schools have nutritious lunches for the children that are there.
How do you, the schools? How do you think the schools are doing on that front? Are you reasonably happy with how they're doing, or they could do a lot better? Or
there's always room for improvement, Richard.
Are they making? Do you feel there has been some improvement over the years, or?
I think that there's resistance to putting anything in policy and really having it be a procedure. But if it's in policy, then you can always pull up the policy and say, no, this is what we said we were going to do in policy. Yeah. And you can go back to it. I think we're making a lot of traction in our classrooms, and Betsy can talk a little bit more about the work that she's done in Swanton School as well as Sheldon. We've gotten some traction with individual teachers because they see the difference in their kids when they're eating well and they have enough time to move during the day. But, you know, physical education is being cut. You know, in a lot of schools. We're not giving kids enough time for recess anymore. Their lunch periods are 15 to 20 minutes in some schools, so they're not eating properly. And then a lot of kids are coming to school hungry because they don't have food at home. And so all of this is contributing to the obesity epidemic in our communities.
So 41%, boy, that blows my mind.
Does that blow your mind? So the YRBS data, which is the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which is done in older kids, it's a self-reported assessment. In 2017, they thought it was 30%, but our younger kids are showing rates of 40% and higher.
Is there have you got a statewide percentage for that or a national percentage for that?
So there's different data points on this. What I've seen from the American Heart Association is it's higher than what the people are self-reporting out at, and there was a meta-data analysis done on measurements and actually going in and measuring children, so the height and the weight of children, and it was at 40 to 45% nationwide. And so the trend is not going the right way, right? So if you look at the trend line in terms of like overweight and obesity rates for children in our country, the rate is going the line is going the wrong way. And that just leads to all kinds of medical problems, chronic illnesses, which is the major killer of Vermonters. So we use this, the formula 3-4-50. Have you heard of that before?
I don't think so, but.
So there's three habits,
Maybe
three habits that create 4 diseases that kill 50% or more of Vermonters.
Right.
So Dr. Chen and there's still a program at the statewide VDH around this. So the 3 habits are, you know, what you eat, how much you move, and whether or not you're using tobacco products.
Right.
Nicotine products, I'll call them now because vaping is becoming a really big issue in our world as well. Cause 4 diseases, so hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and certain types of cancer are killing 50% of Vermonters. So that's like, those are the kind of the numbers that we're dealing with. And so when you look at this rate of overweight or obesity in our littlest people, right? We're not doing what serves their health at all. And so, you know, putting paths in, Swanton's got a campaign right now that's being led by Debbie Winters to build a new playground at the school. You know, and the rates in that SU were some of the highest in our county. And so this is really important work to keep these kiddos healthy. And we just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be healthy as they grow up.
Betsy, you feel you're making, again, huge issue, you feel you're making some progress locally with this?
As part of some of my work in my community, I get to go into the schools and work with them on we have a classroom scorecard, and it's called A Dozen Does It. So there's there's a whole bunch of movement activities, brain breaks we call them, mindfulness. There's a lot of classroom policy they can adapt around healthy snacks, physical activity, not withholding physical activity as a consequence, which is a big one. So making sure the kids can go out and move their bodies when they need to. So I think the teachers are really jumping on board because they know that you can't teach a student if they can't sit and listen. So how do you do that? So obviously they have to have time to move, time to regulate their bodies. We have to fuel their bodies. So what are we fueling their bodies with? You know, proper nutrition. So teachers have a huge role. They take on a lot, but they're doing a beautiful job really taking our Does It scorecard and incorporating it into their classrooms. We work with their wellness committees on trying to create more policies in the school. That is tough because change is hard. So that's a process.
What about the recess times? I mean, I've been hearing about this. I logged some time some years ago as a pair at the St. Albans Town School, and I think that was even coming into play then, but less recess time. Do you try to fight back against that, or is that just pretty tough thing to do?
We try, but
what's the thinking? Is the thinking that they just need to be spending more time doing other things, or where's that coming from?
Well, it comes from the No Child Left Behind Act that was passed, and there was at some, you know, it's sort of like the pendulum shifted, swung the wrong way, and so there wasn't as much emphasis on physical activity or education during that time because of the requirements for math and reading, which are very important, and we don't want to say like don't do that too. But you know, one of the things that we're looking at right now is kinesthetic learning, and how do we incorporate more movement building learning? So like instead of just rote memorization or doing a spelling game where you're just sitting down and writing it, but could you get up and like find the letters around the room and grab the letters and pull the word together? So you're not just, you know, looking at the letters on the table, but you're actually moving around the room to do this. So Moretti, who's on our team, is helping Rise right now create what we're calling the playground, and he's working with some educators on how to create these activities so that teachers can pick them up, or Betsy can go into his classroom and say, hey, I've got this great activity, you know, what are you trying to teach your kids? Is it, you know, counting? You know, how do you incorporate activity and movement into counting? The other thing that Betsy kind of brought up is this idea that recess should be taken away as a punishment for children. And that is one thing that we are adamantly against. and
probably feel that's the last thing that should be taken away from them.
We give kudos to the school, the Highgate school, because 2 years ago I think they stopped. They told teachers that they could not take recess away as a punishment anymore, and that there's other creative. So our website actually has like other things that teachers could do. As punishment and or reward. So again, not healthy celebrations, not having your celebration focus on food. So like the school, Sheldon School, another great example, they had a school-wide celebration and they went outside and did a scavenger hunt with the kids. Instead of doing like, you know, a pizza party or, you know, a Sunday, a movie and a popcorn, which is what a lot of teachers, and a lot, I don't want to like generalize or anything like that, but that is a practice. And it's a practice that I think has like been translated into the corporate environment, right? Like if you do something great at work, like, hey, let's have a pizza party, you know what I mean? Or let's have this. So that practice of like using food as reward, you know, starts at a young age and then continues on throughout adulthood. And so like these are practices and things that I think, you know, can be shifted and changed, and that's what we're trying to do. But it, you know, it takes time. It's cultural values that we're trying to shift. And so it's not an overnight process, and it's not, and the resistance really is because we don't know any other way, right? Like the resistance we get sometimes about, well, what else am I supposed to do if we can't do moving a popcorn? So we're trying to provide resources that have other options, right, for reward and punishment, so that. And we should even be getting out of that kind of language of reward and punishment, actually.
It's like you have a lot of work out there, but it sounds like you're going after it well. Scott, back to Swanton Arts Council. Do you get some young people who show up, any students who show up for your meetings? Or I'm sure you've got some great young artists around.
We have in the past.
Yeah.
And lately, I guess the only one's been like maybe a high school student or whatever.
Yeah.
We've had a few meetings where members come in with their kids, and their kids are just as enthusiastic about it and try to be involved as well. I would say, we were talking about members earlier. If anybody wanted to become a member of the Swanton Arts Council, it's simply just going to our website and joining us. Our website being swantonartscouncil.org. It is free to be a member, and the perks being a member, I believe you get like a newsletter that goes out, kind of just telling you what's going on. And if anybody ever wanted to know what's going on with the Arts Council, the website is definitely a good place to start. A lot of good information on there. And if you wanted to see some of our past efforts, it's always on there as well. So you get to kind of scroll through their history. And if anybody wanted to follow us, we're usually on Facebook promoting what we have on for coming events. So the Swanton Arts Council on Facebook would be another great place to get information.
Dave, I'm sure you'd love to see obviously some young people showing up for these meetings and getting involved, obviously. Huh?
Yeah, no, and even if the young people out there wanted to do their own youth Swanton Arts Council, I think that might be a concept too. If they want to, if they feel like there's some kind of peer pressure, or they want to be more around their
Age group.
their own age group, I think that would be a fantastic idea too, and we'd be happy to help support that in whatever way we can do to bring the youth and their mission for art and hanging out and doing things together would be fantastic. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of momentum. Was again going back to the community visit of a few years ago. Did you feel you were kind of picking up, making some progress before that, or was that kind of a kickstart? Did that especially kind of get things going, do you think?
So it wasn't long. I don't think it was long after when I did come into the job that you're looking at how can we do better at what we do, And when the VCRD community, Vermont Community Rural Development came in, that gave you direction, or gave me direction, gave me ideas of where to go from there. And again, when you have these committees that are so energized, like the Arts Council, there was the outdoor rec, the walkability, bikeability, the substance abuse committee, the downtown parking, and that kind of stuff. The 5 initiatives, it just gave you more direction, And rather than I presume this is where we need to go, you had the community saying this is where we want to go. So it gave you a better path to follow. It was like when Rise came in, way back when it was fit and healthy. We put in signs in the park, made our parks non-smoking. When they came in and started doing the wellness checks, I mean, we had underlying issues in some of our employees we didn't know about. One of the hopes out of that was to try to. We had like 5 people that were ready for retirement, either going to or within a couple of years. And the hope was that we would educate our employees to the point that when they do retire, they can retire healthy and understand how to remain healthy in their retirement years. So these wellness checks were a big part of that. We received a mini grant and put in a garden for the employees. So in the summertime, when we have our barbecues, we have salads to go with them. We get the tomatoes, and in the fall we got our corn on the cob and stuff. So it's you don't see the chips in the break room as much as you used to. Yeah. It's more of the vegetables. When the delivery guy comes in and drops off donuts, we give him crap and tell him, hey, next time bring vegetables or bring fruit. So
Fresh fruit Friday.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Yeah.
Fresh fruit Friday.
Actually, we do. It's shaming them too.
That's a good point you put. Is there a community garden initiative?
There is a
beyond
community
the beautification part for like vegetables and.
Yeah, there's a community garden down at the Swanton Rec Field.
Swanton Rec Field.
Swanton Rec Field.
And there's one there, and then there's also one at the Abnaki tribal headquarters. We did some raised beds there.
Yeah, they had a problem with a gopher.
Oh, love those gophers,
Really?
yeah.
We also have edible landscaping in the Swanton Rec too. We have blueberries and plum trees, and hopefully more. So I would like to talk a little bit about something.
Down to about 7 minutes or so.
Okay,
yeah,
good,
so,
perfect. So as part of really to expand outdoor recreation in our community, there was an outdoor rec committee as part of the task force, but we kind of merged it into the Swanton Recreation. And so municipal planning grant came up, and we kind of had a conversation about what we were going to apply for. So Marble Mill Park is a beautiful little gem in our community that
it will be a beautiful little gem.
Well, it is. I just think it needs some love.
Reeks of potential.
It reeks of potential.
It's gone through its ebb and flow, that's for sure.
It's near the river, so that makes sense.
It's a beautiful spot that has been it's been unutilized for years. And of course, with the flooding last year, there was some damage to the tennis courts and the basketball courts. So there was a municipal planning grant, so we wrote it, we received it, fully funded, to do some studies on the riverfront, to get a lot of engineering work done, what's going to work well, but it's going to be community focused. So it's going to have a lot of, we have to have 4 community forums to really kind of figure out what does the community want at Marble Mill? What is our next steps? Where is this going to, build more community? And we really want to increase access to the connections to recreation, to the village, and to the businesses at the top of the hill. So it's going to be a really sweet deal when it's all finished. So once we have a master plan, then it'll open us up to apply for more fundings to kind of implement the plan. So that'll be exciting. So that's coming.
I thought Enosburg's done a good job with, I guess, I'm not sure if it's the Enosburg Rec Committee, but I guess they're kayaks folks. I'm not sure I think they're, well, Denise probably are on top of that, but with the river right there, but just
got people there.
With the river connection.
We got people there, yeah. We did bikes in Richford this year.
If you could pull off something like that, but it sounds like you'll give it a good effort.
Well, the state put a nice access in right across the way from the park.
Yeah.
About 5 or 6, 7 years
from
ago.
Marble Mill, yeah.
From Marble Mill, which is busy.
Yeah.
I live right on the river,
is that right?
downriver from the park.
Oh,
and the traffic that comes in and out of that area is amazing, especially at the beginning of walleye season.
Forest Canoe Trail put a boat or a canoe portage right there in Marble Mill also.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So
the kiosk is right across the street there too.
Yeah.
So with that initiative, we're trying to reimagine what Marble Mill could be.
Yeah.
David was kind of chuckling, but it's always had a stigma about Marble Mill Park. And being such a beautiful place that it is, I mean, we need to try to reimagine it and try to make it more of a family-oriented place where people can go and not hide, kind of thing.
No, I wish you luck on that. It's I've played tennis here in years past. I get down there once in a while. It's a great spot. I wish you well with that. That sounds like it'd be a great initiative if you could pull that off.
It's been challenged because once upon a time it was all integrated into the high school. So those the basketball courts were integrated to the high school, and you had tennis. And when MVU was built and all that stuff went away from the community is when it suffered. So there's been lots of great things done. The park and the skateboard park and the playground that was put in there, and the lighted basketball court at night. And there used to be volleyball. I don't know if they do volleyball anymore down there, but there's people have been talking about.
It's going to be a great community
pickleball and a lot of other things coming back. So I think people are excited about it. Shuffleboard, maybe all kinds of things.
Hey, keep them. You're going to have to come to the meetings. I got lots of support.
Yeah. People, it is like a walkability around the community. There's a great loop that could happen going down around the park. And
I mean,
you just recruited your next Rise Vermont volunteer.
I know. There's a lot of great things to come.
If the back path between a Salon Elixir there could be improved, that goes back down.
That's how I used to get to Marble Mill from Spring Street when I was a kid.
We used to slide that all the time when we were kids.
Down to just a couple minutes. Denise, you want a last word about anything here?
No, I will say one thing. Reg gives everybody else credit, but you really need leaders in place that are willing to say yes, to create the conditions for a community initiatives that are happening, right? It's all about being open. It's all about relationships, I think. And I really think that you are fostering, and your village trustees are fostering, and the town of Swanton is fostering greater community resilience with all of the work that you're doing. and just the willingness to say yes and say, hey, let's try this. And that's what we feel like we do every day, is like, let's try this and see what happens, right? And I think that that's like the spirit with which we Rise exists and how we want to continue. But you know, we're there to meet the community where they're at, and what do they need, what do they see. Marble Mill has been something that's been on everybody's mind for a long time, and now it's finally time that the community's ready to take that project on. But I think you do need leaders in place that are open and willing to work and aren't afraid to collaborate. And what I love about seeing what's happening in Swanton, everybody wants to give credit to everybody else, right? And that's the beautiful thing, because we can't do it. No, not one of us can do this alone. And so that collaborative spirit of Swanton is really what I think is like exemplified by this conversation and the work that's happening there.
Scott, a quick final word about the Arts Council. Sounds like, again, you got a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah, so much so that I'm at a loss for words. I really don't know. I don't know any one or two to pinpoint. I mean, we've already said it 3 or 4 times, but the Swanton Arts Spectacular should be a great event. It's not until September, but it's never too early to start plugging that.
Yeah, very good. Right, so I'll give you the last word.
I just want to make sure everybody, websites for Rise Vermont, websites again for the Arts Council. So Rise Vermont, your website?
It's fgi.risevt.org is for the local. You could also just go to risevt.org and you'll find the Franklin Grand Isle link.
Yeah.
Very good. Swanton Arts Council?
Oh, the same. I'm not exactly sure what the URL is off the top of my head, but if you do Swanton Arts Council, Google, you're going to get it.
SwantonArtsCouncil.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Very good. On that note, thank you very much, David Winchester, the Swanton Arts Council, Denise Smith, Betsy Forney, Rise Vermont, Reg Belova, the Swanton Village Manager, involved in, I think, everything we talk about on these shows, and Scott Rayum with the Vermont Arts Council. Thanks a lot for the time on a frosty winter day. Good luck with all your initiatives.
Thank you.
And thanks to my man Zach for doing all the hard work on this show. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.